Before we get into the podcast, remember guys, this podcast posts each and every single Monday. Obviously this week's different because it was a Thursday night game, so different circumstances. So I wanted to get this up as quickly as possible because this is a very important game. We have a lot to talk about, a variety of different issues that this team is dealing with right now, and we should have a really fun, hard truths today, as we did last week as well, because there's some serious hard truths to look at. So let's get into the box score. Obviously the first segment or thing we talk about on the show. Obviously the Dolphins fall to the Houston Texans 23-42. Another embarrassing loss on Thursday Night Football. I think we're going to start with the offense, because the defense I'm going to rant about for probably a good 20 minutes. So we might as well get this out of the way first. The offense, let's start with the passing game. Brock Osweiler finished 21 of 37 passing with 241 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Danny Amendola was 1 for 1 for 28 yards with 1 touchdown. That throw was a long throw. That was from the other side of the field to the other side. There's not a lot of people or receivers in the National Football League that could have made that throw. That was a sick play design and a sick play. Kenny Drake, or we're not getting into rushing. Receiving, Devontae Parker had statistically his best game of his career, 6 catches for 134 yards. He averaged 22 yards a grab. Danny Amendola finished with 5 catches for 43 yards, 8 yards a grab. Kenny Drake, 2 catches for 37 yards, 18 yards a grab, and 1 touchdown. Jakeem Grant, 4 grabs for 36 yards. Mike Gesicki, 4 grabs for 14. Frank Gore, 1 catch for 5. Durham Smythe, 0 catches for 0 yards. The passing offense, I feel like the pass protection early on in that game was not very good. Obviously, we had Juwan James on an island. That changed very quickly. We put Nick O'Leary on J.J. Watt. Jadeveon Clowney, despite him, he is a very, very good player. He's a athletic freak, but if you look at his pass rushing numbers, they're not all that great. He's not a really technical guy. They really stand him up and use him as a linebacker sometimes. They put him in the A gap at times. So he's not like the most prolific all-around pass rusher that some people might hype him up to be. His numbers are not all they're not J.J. Watt numbers. They're not Khalil Mack numbers. They're not Von Miller. He's not on that class of statistically like a sack master. So I thought we did a good job. We should have obviously double-teamed J.J. Watt early on in that game. I don't know if that was the play design. I don't understand it. Maybe, we adjusted to that. I'm just saying I don't know if that was the plan going into the game was to double-team J.J. Watt, because Juwan James was on an island, early on in that game. And J.J. Watt's sack came off of play action, I'm pretty sure. And that's something that we have struggled with to block up ever since Brock has been in, and it really, the last few weeks, we for some reason have struggled to block it. And usually we're pretty good in play action passing, but the last few weeks we have not been able to really execute that pass protection. But overall, I thought the pass protection was pretty good. Right now we're talking about the passing game. In terms of the quarterback's performance, Brock Osweiler by far had his worst game of this season, as he's been playing in relief of Ryan Tannehill. He had a terrible game. Adam Gase blames the interception on miscommunication. I don't know how in the God's name that was miscommunication. I think that's a bunch of baloney. I think that was just first of all, it was a terrible throw. He airmailed it in the middle of the field, which is the biggest no-no in the National Football League. And it was an easy interception for Justin Reed, which really just turned the tide in that game and swung the momentum. And that's something that he couldn't do. I mean, we're hurt. Bad. We're coming off a terrible loss on a short week, and against a good pass rushing team, for that matter. That's you don't have to get behind the sticks and have them pin their ears back and just get after Brock. But yeah, he had a terrible game. He missed multiple reads. He missed Jakeem Grant on the sideline. That should have been an interception. That should have been an easy throw. If you look at it from above or end zone view, where Jakeem Grant was, he was wide open. You know, there's a couple times he short-armed a couple people when he was getting hit. Some of those plays, you just need to step up and take a hit and make a throw. I mean, that's something that, you know, it's part of playing the position. Tannehill has actually been good at that throughout his career. He's taking a hit and making a throw. You know, obviously people criticize him. He needs to break the pocket a lot more, but he has been very poised in those scenarios, in those situations of taking a hit and making a throw. He missed a lot of throws. He missed a lot of reads. He missed a wide open touchdown to Devontae Parker. One of the more crucial third downs that he missed. Not that it would have mattered because our defense was playing so bad, but it was a big miss. We could have gotten to the red zone. Mike Gesicki was wide open on a drag route, completely missed him. Brock Osweiler does not go through his reads. He is not consistent with going through his progressions. He stares down people a lot. Okay? That has happened multiple times since he's been the starting quarterback for this team. He has missed a lot of reads. If he goes back to the Bears game, he missed a crucial third down to set us up first and goal. He had Jakeem Grant wide open, didn't even look at him. If that was Tannehill, Jakeem Grant would have walked into the end zone. Okay? He missed a touchdown against the Lions. Fortunately for us, on third and goal, he actually made that pretty throw in the back of the end zone to Kenny Stills on that corner out. But the play before, he had somebody wide open. In this game, he had Danny Amendola. He actually missed 2 touchdowns. He had Danny Amendola wide open. For some reason, the Texans had 3 people on Mike Gesicki in the seam. On the other side, I mean, the routes were really close to each other, but that would have been an easy laser throw right to Danny Amendola. Obviously, the other touchdown he missed was Devontae Parker, where the guy clearly held him, but we didn't get the flag. I mean, he literally grabbed his hips. Doesn't matter. Terrible throw. Terrible throw. Terrible throw. I think if I were to close my eyes and I would say a fairly active Dolphins fan, I think you guys could probably make that throw. And I'm not even joking around. That was wide. There was no safeties over the top. There was zero help. I mean, that was a wide open. There was no. He just airmailed it, dude. He played. Listen, he said before the game that he wasn't rattled, and maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was just playing like Brock Osweiler. I don't know, but he did not play well at all. He played terrible, dude. He played terrible, and you could really see it in Adam Gase's at the end of his press conference. You could see that he was upset with him. I mean, everybody was upset. Brock played bad, dude. He left points on the board. You know, Adam Gase said throughout the game that unfortunately we could only, for the most part, send 3 receivers out at a time because of the Texans' pass rush. So that kind of hampered the offense in the passing game a little bit, but he still missed people wide open. He still didn't make the right reads. When they, you know, Adam Gase said it after the game. He was like, "Yeah, we didn't connect on a lot of throws in this game," and he's right, dude. It's bad when you don't have to watch the game again, but during the game, you see people open as a viewer, and the quarterback that consistently misses those reads. That's bad, dude. That's bad. He could not have played worse, man. The fumble that was obviously called, that was a fumble. You know, he played bad, dude. He played god-awful. He was turning the ball over. He didn't make reads. He hurt the football team. Just an utterly disappointing game from Brock, dude. He came off 2 pretty good games, you know, where he played well enough for us to win the game, and obviously won the one in Chicago. The defense lost us to Detroit, and let's not even start with the defense because we're about to get into that. But he definitely didn't do the offense any favors in this game. All right, so let's get into the running game. That was pretty much the only bright spot and the most consistent area, especially since the Texans are really good at stopping the run. For us to run the ball early on in that game as well as we did, and throughout the game, really, if the game wasn't such a crap and lopsided affair, then we were controlling the line of scrimmage on offense. We were doing anytime we were under center and we ran the ball, we did a very good job at that. And I feel like the reason for that is we're early, especially in our 3-game winning streak, we're a really good play action team. On bootlegs, and that's something that we've had to take out of the playbook because of Brock. I don't think we've ran one bootleg, and that's something we do all the time with Tannehill. But and obviously the zone read's been gone, but The running game was consistent. I liked it. Let's get into the stats. Kenny Drake finished with 12 carries, 58 yards. He averaged pretty much 5 yards a carry for the one touchdown. That touchdown was pretty sweet. He basically walked into the end zone. It was one of the better blocked plays. Even if it was, I don't know if Juwan James was supposed to be in a pass blocking set. I'm pretty sure that was play design, because how J.J. Watt likes to attack upfield like he does. It was probably to take him out of that play. Frank Gore finished with 12 carries for 53 yards, just below 4.5 yards a carry. Kalen Ballage 1 carry for 5. Hopefully we see more of him in the Wildcat in the red zone. I like that a lot. That's something he ran in college and was very successful at, especially in the red zone. So overall, the offense played well. I felt like the running game was there. The quarterback position, if it was just even a teensy bit better, we would have had more points on the board. I feel like everybody else played well. I mean, the receivers played well. Jakeem Grant played well. Danny Amendola played well. Devontae Parker obviously had a very, very good game. The only bad play he had, he dropped a pass on a corner out that he should have caught, but he also had that one, pretty much one-handed grab over the middle. Take it for what it is. Even if he made that catch, who knows if we would have won the game. I mean, probably not would have won that game. I feel like I liked what I saw from the offense. I really do feel like when Tannehill comes back, this offense is going to be better. And I hope he doesn't have rust on him. I know he hasn't thrown in a while. I really hope he doesn't come out the gate rusty, because this offense vertically is not as good with Brock as it is with Tannehill. It really isn't. And one thing I will say about Tannehill coming back really quick before we get into the defense is one of the things I've watched the 3 games, his successful 3 games, and even the game against the Bengals. Obviously, he choked it away at the end, no doubt about it. His worst game by far was against New England, but in Cincinnati he played well until the offensive line obviously got hurt. Still not an excuse for turning the ball over like he did, but the pass protection obviously was not the same. But when he, against the Jets, against the Raiders, which isn't saying much, but against the Titans, who have a pretty good defense, he's way better at moving up in the pocket, sliding around. And Brock does a good job of getting rid of the ball, but sometimes that's a detriment to Brock, because he gives up on a play too early sometimes, and sometimes that's a good thing. Don't get me wrong. But Tannehill really does stand in there and keeps the play alive as long as he possibly can. That gets Tannehill in trouble a lot, but it also is a good thing. I actually, Brett Favre did it all the time, and obviously never gave up on a play. And I'm not saying Tannehill's Brett Favre, but he definitely does hold on to the ball a lot longer than Brock does, which I think his playmaking ability is better than Brock's. Especially since the zone read has been taken out, bootlegs and stuff of that nature. I feel like play action is better with Tannehill in there. But one of the things Tannehill has improved very much on is pocket presence. There was a couple times, if go back and watch the Jets game, that the perfect example of that. Go back and watch the play where he throws it to Frank Gore for the first down that ended the game. It was like 30-19 or something crazy like that. He had people coming off the edge right at him, and he did a beautiful job of stepping up into the pocket and finding his check down receiver. If that was Brock, first of all, he's getting sacked. Tannehill's deep ball is so much better than Brock Osweiler's. And it's not even close. And he's consistent with it, believe it or not. The only miss he had was with Albert Wilson. And I feel like if they play together longer, there's no way he misses that pass. But anytime he's throwing to Kenny Stills downfield, he hits it. Obviously, those two. Devontae Parker, another great example of that. Anytime he throws it downfield to the DP, he hits it. Albert Wilson's obviously a newcomer. I feel like that chemistry had a little something to do with that. He just overthrew him by like an inch. But other than, Tannehill, he does throw a beautiful deep ball. The pass against the Raiders, not in a million bajillion years, and that's not even a word, okay, does Brock Osweiler make that throw. And the same goes for the throw against the Titans to Kenny Stills, the bomb, touchdown, obviously the highlight of the day. There's no way Brock makes that throw. His arm isn't strong enough, and he literally every time he throws down the field, the guy has to have some sort of separation, because if he has a free safety over the top, that thing is going to be picked off. It hangs in the air way too long. So I do feel like the offense will be better with Tannehill, depending on if he comes. I just hope Tannehill comes back. I'm talking 3-0 Tannehill when he was playing his best football. 2016 Tannehill, and that's something that we've seen with him. And the loss against New England, I know I'm ranting here, but I'll finish up with it. The loss against New England, that was a team loss. The Bengals game, that was on Tannehill. But for the most part of the season, Tannehill has had a good season. He led this football team to 3-0 wins. Things were not going our way a lot of times in those games. He had a huge win on the road against the division win against the New York Jets. Especially how the Jets have been playing the last few weeks. They're not, they're still in contention, pretty much. So that was a huge win. So it's not like he's played bad at all. So I do feel like the offense is going to improve after, hopefully it does, if Tannehill can come back and throw after this 10-day layoff that we're going to have. I feel like we should get some people back, and the offense should be even better, even though they've been rolling on the other facets of the game. The running game has been way better since Tannehill has left. Way better, way more consistent, and hopefully we continue to do that when Tannehill comes back, because that'll make the offense even more dangerous. So I do feel like that. I'm confident that will be better when number 17 comes back. One more thing I have to say before we get into the defense, and I know everybody's like, just get to the defense already. I've spent 14 minutes. It's a podcast, okay? You guys are listening. Sorry, I rant. Things pop into my head. It is what it is. But before we get into the defense, the play calling, I loved the game plan. I thought Adam prepared the offense better than most coaches would in the National Football League. People that are calling for Adam Gase's head, I want you to look in the mirror and tell me what coach in the National Football League would have won any of those games that we've won this year, especially the Bears game. And even the Raiders game, when we were getting killed on defense, people forget that game. And we're really reaping some of the things that we did terrible in that game now. But some of that showed up in that Raiders game. The Titans game, dude, we would have gotten killed if Joe Philbin was our coach. I'm talking destroyed if Joe Philbin was our coach. I'm not even joking around. Half of the coaches in the National Football League do not prepare the offense the way that Coach Adam. Now you could say, okay, that 4th and 1, the way our team defense has been playing, it would have been really clutch, especially on the first drive of the game, to get 3 points to help out our defense. I agree with you. I completely and totally agree with you, for sure. That was not the greatest call on the planet, especially since Brock is 6'7". That would have been the easiest sneak in the world. That was not a good call, but I will say I am not joking around. This has nothing to do with him at all. It has nothing to do with him. Now you might say, well, why does the head coach is in charge of the entire team? He should be overlooking the defense as well. No, especially not in today's NFL. Seriously, there are very few coaches that are still that way, old school, that really don't have their hand. They're just, they kind of have their hands in all of the honey pots. That doesn't happen anymore. If Sean McVay is not like that. Dan Quinn, I guess, is like that. He would be the only one who could. Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick are the only three I could really think of. Jason Garrett, but he's not good at it, are the only ones I could really think of that don't do, like Matt Nagy, Sean McVay, Gruden. They all coach the offense, and let the defensive coordinators do their thing. Like Sean McVay, it's the reason why he hired Wade Phillips, is so he could coach the offense and he could coach the defense. So that is the same situation we find ourselves in down in Miami. So that is not an excuse. That it has nothing to do with Adam, dude. And it does work, by the way. It has worked a lot in NFL history. With Bill Walsh, it worked. It's worked a lot, okay? It has nothing to do with Adam Gase, bro. Okay? If that's the way Adam Gase wants to coach football and be the head coach of this team, handpick someone. Now, the person that he handpicked, not so good, okay? Dumb. Listen, we're going to get into that later. The point is, I'm not going to talk about this anymore because I would love to have somebody on the show who tries to argue me on this. I would love to argue about this because there are so many coaches in the National Football League that are stupid, dumb, non-creative coaches that there's no way half of the stuff that we pulled off in these last few games we would have pulled off. Some of the play design, a lot of the big plays that we've had, beautiful play design, great play calls. I do not agree with that. I don't think this has anything to do with Adam Gase at all. And we're going to get into hard truths too. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to make excuses for him. And it has nothing to do with me being a biased fan, homer, or anything like that, dude. It has nothing to do. I hated Joe Philbin. If you listen to the show when Joe Philbin was here, I hated Joe Philbin. He was a terrible head coach. He stunted Tannehill's development. He did a lot of terrible things. I did not like Joe Philbin. He was not a good head coach at all, dude. At all. I am sticking up for Adam because I truly do believe that he is a really good head coach. I really do believe that. This could be way worse, dude. We could be 1-5 right now. We could be seriously. The margin of error in the games that we have won could have swung either way this year, and that's the god honest truth, dude. And some of the dude, all the trick plays, his decisions he's made on. The only reason Albert Wilson is here is because of Adam Gase, dude. This has nothing to do with him. And I wanted to say that before we got off the offensive topic. That's my opinion. I know a lot of people strongly disagree with me, but I would love to hear the other side. I know the 4th and 1 play call was obviously it was a good decision to go for it, but the play call was not good. We should have sneaked it. But dude, it didn't matter, dude. We couldn't play defense, dude. It wouldn't have mattered if we got it there. We could not play. We went up 7-0, dude. 7-0, and we got killed. We scored, dude. We kept the game within one possession for a long time, and we could never get the ball back and get the turnover that we needed. And I could go on and on and on about how good of a job that he did in pass protection, and he had basically sticks and gummy bears to work with, and he somehow got 23 points out of it. Should have been more if his quarterback was better. Should have been way more if his quarterback was better. Against a good front for the Houston Texans that can get after the quarterback in a variety of different ways. And Romeo Cornell is a very good defensive coordinator. He has been for a very long time in the National Football League. So I just wanted to get that off my chest because I've seen a lot of that going around. I could name a million things before I got to Adam Gase that is the problem with this football team, and that is the god-honest truth, dude. It has nothing to do with him at all, dude. He's been a huge part of the reason why we have 4 wins in the one column right now. A huge part. Huge part, dude. All right, let's get into the defense, man. And first, before a moment of silence for Matt Burke, because he should not be our defensive coordinator anymore. A moment of silence. If I was Adam Gase, dude, if I was Adam, dude, it is so disgusting how our defense has performed over the last 2 weeks. And like I said, in the Raiders game, of course, we made adjustments at halftime. They played way better in that game as the game went on. But the last 2 weeks have been the worst, man. Have absolutely been the worst. So let's get into the defense. Deshaun Watson, we'll start with the secondary. No. We're going to start with the D-line. Lamar Miller finished with 18 carries for 133 yards. He averaged 7 yards a touch. He had 1 touchdown. Alfred Blue had 15. It's hard to believe Alfred Blue had 15 carries in this game, but he did. With 42 yards, and he averaged 2 yards a carry. Deshaun Watson, 1 carry for 14 yards. Yeah. Okay. We did absolutely nothing to adjust to the thing that we failed at doing the previous week, dude. We didn't do anything different, dude. The drive where Lamar Miller went up the sideline and should have scored a touchdown, I can't remember who caught him from behind. They ran the same play 3 times in a row. In a row, dude. That's the defensive coordinator that we have. They ran the same play 3 times in a row, and it worked all 3 times, man. What does that say about your defensive coordinator when that happens to you? Nothing good. And you know what the funny thing is? Didn't go no huddle on it. This wide 9 defense is utterly. I think we're the only NFL team to run a wide 9 defense. I could be wrong about. I'm pretty sure I'm not though. We don't have anybody over the center, dude. The name of the game on defense is to get the other team in as many third downs as you possibly can, because that gives you the best chance to win. We can't get anybody into a 3rd and long. All of our third downs the last 2 weeks have been 3rd and very short, dude. For the most part. The wide 9 listen, I could care less about your stupid scheme and your dumb ego, Matt. I could care. You know what I care about? I care about wins, dude. And here's what you're gonna do. And I swear to God, Adam, hear our prayers, please, dude. Go into his office, look him in the eye, and say, change the alignment of the front, dude. The reason we run this stupid wide 9 defense is to get, quote unquote, more pressure on the quarterback. Somebody slap him in the face. Are you serious, dude? Okay. Here's the problem I have with that, Matt. We can't get anybody in 3rd and long, dude. So how the heck are we supposed to get pressure on the quarterback if we can't play run defense? And it's not like you've had bad players either, Matt. You've had Ndamukong Suh, for God's sakes, and we still couldn't stop the run. Do you remember last year when they were saying that Suh was freelancing too much? Because he's not an idiot. When Suh would move himself inside to stop the run, no duh, dude. Do you know why he was doing that? Not because he's disrespectful. Because he's not going to bang his head against the wall until his head explodes. Because that's the stupid thing to do, bro. This wide 9 defense has got to stop. The reason we run it is to get pressure on the quarterback. Guess what? We can't even do that right now. We can't, and the reason we have it is because we can't. We're not doing that on a consistent enough basis, dude. We're not getting enough 3rd and 6 pluses. We're not. We're just not. Teams are killing us on first and second down. Excuse me. And it literally, listen, if it doesn't work, hats off. Our players are just not good enough. And at the end of the day, Matt, there's nothing you can do about that. If that happens, but you haven't tried it yet. So all I ask is a Dolphins fan, for God's sakes, is to change the alignment of the defense, for God's sakes, dude. Change it to a normal 4-3 defense. If you want, switch up the defensive front in some crazy way where we don't really have a nose tackle on this team. We don't have this big like pot roast of a guy that can, we're not the Panthers. We don't have Kawan Shorter, Dontari Poe. We don't have that guy who is ridiculously hard. All I'm asking you is just to, even if it's just on 1st and 2nd down, dude, move everybody inside. The way that Matt, dude, I could say 3 different things right now. What I really want to say before I really get into what I'm about to say is the reason we suck, especially in shotgun. All of the bigger runs that we had were out of that unbalanced line set, obviously under center. I felt like as the game went on, we actually did a pretty good job of stopping it, but we really struggle in shotgun draw runs and stuff of that nature for the last 3. Ever since Vance and Matt have been here, when we've been running this wide 9 defense, we have struggled hard. and draws and inside zones and stuff of that nature. Like, hard, dude. We have struggled hard. Because I mean, dude, look at the big runs that we've had. There's no one in the middle of the dude. It's like a dang. It's the sea opens up anytime they pull a guard or something like that. There's just a ginormous hole in our defense. It's depressing, bro. And Vincent Taylor needs to play more. He has to, bro. He has to play more. He's the best by far. Akeem Spence has played okay, but he's been inconsistent. Devon Godshaw, he had one good play against the Titans where he blew up a wham play on a 2-point conversion. But we schematic, dude. I can't remember who said it, or Adam Gase was like, I don't know if it's schematics. I don't know if dude. To be honest with you, it's a lot of different things. It's not just scheme, but a lot of it has to do with scheme, and that is something that we have to change. Schematically, we have to change the philosophy of this defense. One of the things that we've been doing, if you've been paying attention to the way the defensive line plays on early downs, is the defensive end will motion in, like pinch. Basically, if you play Madden, they basically pinch in to the defensive line. They'll motion at like the last second, and then they'll hike the ball. That's what we've been doing to combat inside runs. The game against New England, Bill or Josh McDaniels, I can't remember their defensive coordinator's name. Notice that, Josh McDaniels. I'm crazy. Josh McDaniels or whoever on that the Patriots staff noticed that, and they had a lot of interesting runs to combat that, where our defensive ends would just flow inside, and then they would run it to the opposite side of wherever way they're pinching in. That's happened a couple times this season, but something that the Texans did as well. So it's very. That's why a lot of people they run these trap plays, and we have to change the defensive line. We have to change the front and the way they line up. And the reason Raekwon McMillan has struggled as hard as he does is because it's too easy for the guards in the center to pull up to the linebackers. You see a lot of the time on highlight reels of anytime they run, anytime a team gets a big run against us, it's too easy for them to get to the second level. There's no one over the center, dude. It is it's called a wide 9 for a reason. There are a lot of open gaps on that front, dude. And we don't switch fronts. We run the same front the entire game, which is another problem I have with Matt Burke. But it is annoying to watch, because you would think after the last 3 years, and this is on Adam as well, I will blame this on Adam, that someone would go, you know what, maybe we shouldn't run this this front anymore, and if we do, maybe we should switch it up to a different front, because we have talented players on this defensive line. It's not like we don't. Bill Belichick's dealing with spare parts in New England, and he's getting it done. Okay, it's possible, Matt. It's possible, and you have talent. You have more talent than Bill does right now. Fix it, dude. Change your scheme, bro. Change it, dude. Please. Or get fired. Either way, I don't care. Something has to change. And I think schematically it's hurting Raekwon, it's hurting Jerome, it's not really hurt. Kiko's played well, but I do feel like it does hurt the linebackers to a certain extent. It's hard to get penetration. There's no holes for them to run through, dude. They're constantly having to deal with one-on-ones on the offensive line. That is not normal. That is not something a linebacker constantly has to deal with in the National Football League. Having a center or a guard have a clean hit on them on almost every single running play. That is not normal, dude. Watch the Panthers play. Luke Kuechly is the best middle linebacker in the National Football League. He is really good at diagnosing plays and stuff of that nature, but he doesn't. Their defensive line and their front, they run a completely different defense than us. I get that. It's a completely different scheme. If completely different personnel. But they don't have that problem of a guard or an offensive lineman having a clean hit on Kuechly every single play, dude. They don't have that problem, because of the front that they play with. It's basically, they have 2 nose tackles in the middle. Do you think Kuechly's having a tough time playing run defense up the middle with those two big dudes in the middle. No. They have big defense, and that is another issue that we have, but I still don't think it should be as bad as it is. We do not have big defensive ends, but it should not be that bad. And if that's something that we need to fix, put Woodard out there. He's been a pretty decent run defender for us. If you have to line up Vincent Devont, run a crazy defensive front where we put a lot of beef out there on first and second down. Just be creative as a defensive coordinator, dude. Try anything and everything to fix it. Don't continue to bang your head against the wall. Just stop, dude. And clearly you can't coach a defense because they keep going out there. And here's a nice segue into the secondary. No, we haven't talked about the secondary. Deshaun Watson finished 16 of 20. Completed 16 of his passes on 20 attempts with 239 yards and 5 touchdowns. That means 5 of those 16 completions were touchdowns. That is disgusting. And they were long touchdowns. Will Fuller finished with 5 catches for 124 yards, and he averaged 24 yards a catch with 1 touchdown. DeAndre Hopkins finished with 6 catches, 82 yards, averaged 13 yards a catch with 2 touchdowns. Julius Thomas, 4 catches for 29 yards, and 7 yards a catch. I said Julius Thomas. It's not Julius Thomas. I think it's Jordan Thomas. I cannot remember their tight end's name. There's so many things I want to talk about with the secondary. Number one, Matt Burke has got to do a better job of simplifying things and making sure this defense knows what the heck they're doing, because clearly they don't. Because all of these touchdowns are not physical. Listen, Bobby McCain got destroyed off the line of scrimmage. Okay, we had, I think, T.J. McDonald took the in route. Rashad Jones was basically no man's land. Too much. And listen, we're gonna get in. There's so much going on right now. We got to get from one end to another. There's so much wrong with that secondary. But mentally, a lot of the big plays that we've given up are mental, dude. There's a lot of finger pointing before the ball is hiked. There's a lot of miscommunication. A lot of it, and nobody's taking control of the defense right now. It is a mess. It is a mess back there, and you would think we don't have a lot of bookworms on this defense. Let's put it that way. Other than Minka, but he's a rookie, so I'm not going to ask a rookie to scream and yell at other players on this defense to get it right and make sure they're all in the right position, because nobody's doing that on the defense. So that's why I'm turning my head and looking at you, Matt Burke. What is going on? What is going on, dude? And again, it goes back to what I'm saying, the basis of what I'm saying. Do whatever it takes to get this defense playing at a decent enough level, because there is talent in this defensive secondary. There is, dude. Bobby, and I will give this to Matt Burke, and this is an excuse for him. Bobby McCain has not played well since he's come back from this injury. At all. He hasn't played well at all. He has been a huge... The little pivot route on Will Fuller, what the heck are you doing, my guy? That is not Raekwon McMillan's man. That was man defense. I could be wrong about that. I could be remembering it wrong. But from what I remember, that was man defense, and Bobby McCain backed way too far off. I know the guy was motioning inside, but that doesn't mean you go full-on dummy and drop that far back and just watch the play happen in front of you and then not make the tackle when he catches the football and get juked out of your dang mind. Okay? So he has not played well since he's came back, and that's one thing I will say about Matt. Like, he has not played well. He's been getting beat off the line of scrimmage too quickly. That happened twice in this game. He got beat deep. He committed a pass interference penalty when he didn't need to. It was not a good throw by Deshaun Watson. We have a lot of issues right now in the secondary. The biggest one is just preparation, and again, it goes back to, and I literally keep repeating myself, but do whatever it takes, dude. If you have to say, we'll run into 2-man under the entire time, which is man-to-man defense across the board, maybe we mix in a cover one robber, whatever it is, simplify it as much as you possibly can, because clearly these secondary members can't handle it. They just can't. And some of the linebackers can't either. And let's understand, Jerome's a rookie, and Raekwon's a rookie. Basically a rookie. This is his first year playing. and they've given up a lot of touchdowns because they're obviously either not understanding the call. That's unacceptable by Raekwon. He's been in the system for 2 years. But Jerome, I guess I give you a pass. And again, that goes back to that all trickles down back to Matt. Do a better job of getting these people ready, making their job and recognizing what they're messing up on. Because and I know it's a short week. I get it, dude. Do anything you have to do, anything and everything. Fix the front. Show them a new front on first and second down. Mix it up. Mix it up, dude. It's frustrating to watch, man. Mix up the fronts. Mix up, and he does mix up the coverages. Don't get me wrong, but some things we just cannot run correctly. Simplify the coverages to a high school level if you have to. The defense has talent back there. We have two former Pro Bowl and one recent Pro Bowl safety back there. Minkah Fitzpatrick, who had a bad game, I guess you could say, against Chicago, but since then he's played pretty dang well. He's played really well as a rookie, especially as a defensive back member. Xavier Howard, for what it's worth, has played very well this entire season. He only had up 82 yards against Hop. I think the first time Hop's had? Maybe that's not the first time he just cooked Ramsey for 100 yards. So he was he was the best receiver or top 3 receiver in football at that point. So 1,000% I wouldn't take the 2 touchdowns, but I definitely would take the 82 yards. That's for sure. But the 2 touchdowns that Hop had were ridiculous, dude. I can't remember this. Oh, the second one was just blown coverage, and then the other one that he caught on that slant route was just a ridiculous catch by him. So basically what I have to say about this defense is we're not doing enough to change at all. We're just not. We're not doing enough to change at all on the defensive side of the football. And that's on Matt, dude. That's on Matt. He has to do a better job of changing it up, fixing the issues schematically the best way he possibly can, and he has not done that because we've ran the same things the last 2 weeks and nothing's changed, and he needs to change it. Simple, like I said, if you have to simplify this to a 3rd grader, hey man, I don't know what a 3 is level, then do it, dude. Teach them the ABCs, bro. Because, dude, if we sent kids to class, to Mr. Burke's class, they'd come back and they would think an A was a potato, dude. The other kids with ABC, dude, they'd be potato, orange. They wouldn't know what the heck they were doing, man. They'd come back cross-eyed, drooling. They like, what happened to this child, bro? His brain is gone. It's mush now. Figure it out. Do something different. Mix it up. It's time for hard truths. Hard truths. Because I have a couple hard truths for this particular podcast after this disgusting loss against the Houston Texans. Hard truths. In today's hard truths, hypothetically, if I was the owner of the Miami Dolphins, there are three or four things I would immediately do if the season ended right now. Number 1, Matt Burke would be gone. And I would tell I would not fire Adam Gase. I would keep Adam Gase. But number 1, Matt Burke would be gone. And his name would be like Lord Voldemort, by the way. Like, you cannot... Matt Burke... Never happened. He would be gone. He has not done a good job. At all. Number 2. We need a pass rusher. Bad. Because this defensive line is acting like a bunch of kids, dude. Their big brother's putting a pinky on their forehead, and they can't do nothing. Granted, we haven't done a good enough job of getting people in 3rd and longs, but they still have not been. There have still been times where Deshaun has held onto the ball, and they have gotten 0 pressure. So we need a star pass rusher. And this is something I would be communicating to Adam Gase. Number 3. We need to draft the quarterback. Tannehill, I love Tannehill, and people hate on me for that. I still think he's a franchise quarterback, but he's become inconsistent and unreliable. And I think generally Dolphins fans all would agree with that at this point in time. those are the things that would be that would be on my list right now if I was Stephen Ross. Those would be priorities after the season to make sure we nail. Get a veteran defensive coordinator who knows what the heck they're doing. Get a pass rusher, a star pass rusher. I'm talking a dominant threat on the defensive line who can get after Brady and all the other quarterbacks that we play. Excuse me. And priority, and this isn't in particular order, 3, we have to get a stud at the quarterback position. Someone who can create offense on a consistent basis when things break down and make throws, tough throws, immaculate throws, and who has a gunslinger mentality. If, let's say, there's tight man-to-man coverage, it's one-on-one, sometimes you got to make a big boy throw and move the chains. Those would be the 3 priorities right now. I would let that be known clear to Adam. I'd be like, if you don't nail 3 of these things, you're out next year. You're not coaching this football team anymore. If you don't nail those 3 things. Because I truly do believe this has nothing to do with Adam. If he got those 3 things, and again, this is if the season ended today. If he got those 3 things done, then obviously we would be trending in the right direction very fast. Very fast. We're going to do one quick news story because I rated way too long about this football team for 46 minutes, and we only do about an hour, so I got to do this quick. But this is a very interesting news story. Gase says Dolphins, this comes from the Sun Sentinel, Gase says Dolphins will consider wholesale changes on defense after blowout Texans loss. Matt Burke, we're going to read, this is from Omar Kelly, we're going to read a little bit of this. Or maybe we won't. We're not going to. But basically what this is saying is a lot of changes could happen on this football team, and especially when it comes to the trade market. And whatever those trades might be, it's unfortunate Snacks Harris. I know he's not a 4-3 defensive tackle, but man, he would have helped a lot. If we could have maybe switched up some of the fronts that we have, he would have been very valuable to this team. I don't know what the heck who did he get traded to? I'm trying to think right now. Who the heck did he get traded to? I can't remember who he got traded to. It doesn't matter. Whoever he got traded to, I do not know what the compensation was, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't anything ridiculous. So maybe I'm wrong about that. But what Adam Gase, they asked about the trade deadline, did we make any moves? And I definitely don't think Devontae Parker is going to be traded, especially after the game that he had. But I do believe, I would not be surprised if Mike Tannenbaum, Chris Greer, and Adam got together and made some moves for Chris Harris, who's been heavily rumored to be on the trade block. Who else? There's been some other prominent defenders that have been up for not Bruce Irvin. He doesn't fit the scheme at all, and he's not a very good player. But there are a couple other people that I'm skipping out on. But Chris Harris would be a huge trade for us. Obviously, Xavier and Chris on the outside, that would be ridiculous. Even though secondary, I mean, good God, dude. Maybe he could come in with some of his veteran presence and straighten some things out. But I would not be surprised if you saw some major trades go down, especially since the way Adam Gase reacted to that question. He literally just said, I haven't heard anything yet. He didn't say no, so I would not be surprised if that happened. I thought that was a very fascinating little tidbit there. And again, there have been some prominent players out there for trade, and I would not be surprised if you saw Chris Harris is a Miami Dolphin, number 25, or something crazy like that happen. This first question comes from Sam. He says, I think the coaching staff is still on below. Pass on 4th and inches in the red zone, onside kick after extra point, knowing defense is getting smoked. With Gase, it's fine line between being aggressive and stupidity. I've never seen so many blown coverages in a Dolphins game. Who deserves more blame, offense or defensive play calling? Offense was played well. I thought we did one of the better run defenses in the league. I thought we did a pretty good job of running the football on a consistent basis, especially when we were under center. I felt like if we had a better quarterback under center, we would have scored way more points than we did. I think to be honest with you, he at least left 14, maybe 21 points out there on some of the throws that he missed. And obviously he gave the other team 7 points as well. So the quarterback play was not good. So the offense, I think that's a wash when it comes to that. Like I said, the 4th and inches call, didn't like the call at all. Was not a good call. He should have sneaked it on 4th down. I agree with that. But we still went up 7-0 on them, and then obviously that. And so yeah, I blame this all on Matt Burke. He's just not doing enough. You can, if you watch the offense, especially in 2016 and 2017, especially in 2016, 2017, and even in this year, Adam Gase made major schematic adjustments. We went from a no-huddle in 2016 passing team to a grounded pound 1970s grind you into the dirt 200-yard rushing offense mid-season, and that's why we won up 6 games in a row. Like, he does recognize flaws in personnel and stuff of that nature and drastically changes it. Matt Burke needs to do something like that for the defense, and he has not done that. And in 2017, we went from a grounded pound, grinded out offense to JHI. He goes. We transitioned into more of a passing attack, and we didn't do. When we did make that transition, we won against the Patriots. We blew out the Broncos. I mean, it wasn't roses and petals, but it was definitely better. Yeah, and I would all of my years being a Dolphins fan, I have never. We look like the Cleveland Browns, dude. We look like the Minnesota Vikings in 2013 or whenever they had that terrible year on defense, dude. We looked terrible, bro. I've never seen that happen to our defense as a Miami Dolphins fan. Like that. I mean, it gets New England. There's a couple times where stupid stuff like that happened, but blown coverages like that, no, I've never seen anything like that. This next question comes from Sam. He says, should Bobby move back inside? Seems like a liability outside. I don't know what's going on with him right now, man. I do not know. Because he played so well at the beginning of the season at the same position. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't know. Maybe it's the injury still bothering him. I don't know what it is. But should he move back inside? That means Minkah Fitzpatrick's going to have to move somewhere. So if you want to move Minkah outside, Minkah could probably do it, to be honest with you. He's very, very versatile and obviously a tremendous talent. Corporate Gamer says, I think Howard played better against Hopkins than I thought he would. Thoughts? I think Howard played, really? I expected he pretty much shut him out in the first half. The second half, that blown coverage, not his fault. That's where most of his yards came from. The touchdown was just one heck of a throw and catch, so, yeah. Will says, any chance... So I would say, like you said, corporate. I think he did play pretty good against DeAndre Hopkins, who's one of the better receivers in the National Football League. This next question comes from Will. He says, any chance we convince Dan Marino to transplant his arm to Tannehill? We're going to need with this defense lack of confidence and coverage skills. I feel like if Matt gets his head on straight and makes some drastic changes to this defense, it could help a great deal. So hopefully that does work. And I cannot wait for Tannehill to come back because dude, Brock left a lot out on that field. He really did. This next question comes from Will. He says people are gonna dogpile Adam Gase's decisions, but he's doing the best he can with all this drama and bad play. Do you really think he could lose his job? Please God, no. I think at least he deserves a rookie quarterback to develop and another season. I completely agree with you. This has nothing to do with him. At all. The way, like I said, the play calling, the stuff that he's pulled out of his hat this entire season, all the trick plays, all of the stuff that he's implemented into the offense, that doesn't happen with 99.9% of the coaches in this league, dude. It doesn't happen, bro. Especially with Brock Osweiler coming in as our quarterback. Bad Bandit says, this question comes from Bad Bandit. He says, should we fire Burke and enter a rebuild? I feel like we won't get anywhere until we see some serious changes to this team. I don't think it's that bad, and I hope, if it continues to go the way it is right now, dude, obviously some major changes need to happen. And like I listed in the 3 things that I would do if I was the owner, those are the 3 things I would do if things continue to be this bad, which they won't be, I promise you. But should we fire Burke and enter a rebuild? No, we should not. I don't think we should. Bad Bandit. Jag Pack 18. We're still in the playoff run. We're still 4-4, dude. Jagpack says 18 says every time they play in prime time, they get a 40 burger put on them. When will we admit Gase is not the answer? The offense is weak, no matter who's under center, and he didn't replace Burke last year when it was evident that he's not good. Also, I like your hard truths rant from last week's podcast. You should make it a regular part of the pod. I appreciate that. Hopefully, you enjoyed it this week. Jagpack, I would disagree with you. I think the 40 burgers that were put on us in prime time last year, when you talk about the Baltimore Ravens, the Carolina Panthers game, our offense played terrible. They didn't execute anything. Our quarterback was throwing picks. Matt Moore could not have had a worse game. Pass protection was terrible. Injuries, we were injured greatly in those games. We just didn't have. We had terrible quarterback play, and that's the real reason why we started. Had those 40 burgers put on us. I mean, our quarterback play was god awful, dude. The pick thrown before halftime, very similar to what happened in the Texas game. Jay Cutler threw that pick to Kuechly. Threw right in between the 50 and the 9. A lot of our losses in 2017 were because of bad quarterback play. 6 turnovers in the Buccaneers game, the 4 in the Bills games that we played. Like, that's bad, dude. It had nothing to do with him. Jeremy Stacy says, so I disagree with you, Jagpack, but I do agree with you on Matt Burke. He has to do a better job. Jeremy Stacy says, what the hell do we do now? I don't think Gase and Burke will be fired after this game, but something has to change. We're on a free fall. Defensively, we have to make a lot of adjustments. There was a lot of times where the offense was bouncing. We were up 7-0 in that game. We cut it to a one-possession game a lot where we could make a move. It's not like the offense was doing bad. We were moving the ball. If we got any kind of turnover, good field position, anything that a good defense could do for your offense, that game would have been completely different. Anytime the offense threw the ball back to the defense, they gave up a touchdown, and it just piled on from there. It starts with the defense. Will says, I never understood the hype behind Bobby because he really hasn't been playing well lately. That defense, Hopkins' touchdown was on him and not Kiko. Why did we have faith in him again? And why is it every time a DP has a bad game, he always gets stiff-armed? LOL, it's like an NFL tradition. Yeah, I agree. Bobby needs to step up. Will's thoughts on DP's monster game that could have been better had Brock connected with him on a few more passes. Do you think he'll be better here after the season? After the season? If he continues to play like this, yes. Estevan says, fire Burke. I still believe in Gase. He's just been dealt with crappy cards as far as players being injured, who he runs his offense through. I completely agree. Mr. 305 says, I have another question. There's a rumor going around that Denver Broncos might fire head coach Vance Joseph by the end of the season. Do you think Miami should rehire Vance Joseph back as our defensive coordinator? He did a pretty good at 2016 and fire Matt Burke. He really did. I mean, he did. To be honest with you, he really didn't do that good of a job, and he didn't have a lot of parts to work with. But he didn't do that great of a job. But he is a better. I guess he's a better defensive coordinator than Matt. But it's not that much different. If he came down here, he would still run the wide 9. That's what he ran when he was here. I just don't think. I don't know. I don't think you would see that much of a difference, to be honest with you. Corporate Gamer says, why is our defense terrible? Also, thoughts on Devontae Parker's performance. Because Matt Burke needs to step up. And why is Devontae? He did tremendous. And, he had the one drop. And if Brock is a better quarterback, he would have had almost 200 yards. If not 200 yards. And definitely multiple touchdowns. This question comes from Jerry. He says, also, do you think it's time to ship off Cameron Wake and Andre Branch after the season, given they haven't made any impact on the defense? Yeah, it's about time to start looking into that. The ageless wonder that is Cameron Wake is starting to catch up with him. Although we are way through the year, hopefully we make some drastic changes. We get people in more third and long situations, and that changes. But as of right now, the defensive ends cannot be playing worse. This next question also comes from Jerry. He says, do you think Matt Burke should be fired? I know his blitzing schemes and zone coverages aren't working well, but even in man coverage, we got toasted. Also, why isn't Minka the free safety on every play? We have Bobby McCain back, and I feel more comfortable having him run the slot with McTyer playing the second quarter. Well, Minka, that's a whole nother bag of worms in terms of where people should line up and where they shouldn't. But should Matt Berg be fired? I don't know, man. I don't know. That's a good question. That is all we can do for this week. I apologize, guys. I ranted for too long. I'm definitely going to probably do a second video where we answer more questions, but hopefully things change, and I cannot wait to see you guys in the next one.